Welcome to Your Inner Advocate, a podcast by Kimen Petersen, formerly Conversations with Kimen. This podcast is a space for inspiration, soulful insights, and meaningful life lessons. Your host, Kimen Petersen, draws from personal stories and powerful conversations with remarkable people to help illuminate your path. These episodes reflect his lived experiences and thoughtful perspectives, all aimed at encouraging you to live life with greater authenticity, joy, and ease. Your Inner Advocate is here to help you tune in, trust your inner wisdom, and move through life with more clarity, flow, and fulfillment.
Have you ever really thought about the people who truly inspire you? Not just the people who win the most trophies, or seem to have it all figured out. Silver spoons. But what about the people who fall down and then rise again and again and again? Like for me, I feel like I've slowly found my way in life through the things I've heard, I've seen, and I've read about amazing people through the years. I've also had the privilege to work with many really amazing athletes of all levels. And they literally teach me every day. And most of them don't know how much they inspire me. I mean, the truth is, I'm not overly inspired with the people who win every time and seem to have no little or very little challenges in life. I am completely and utterly inspired by those people who overcome extraordinary life challenges. The ones who could have quit, but they didn't. If you think of it, strength grows in the moments when you think you can't go on, but you keep on going anyway. So this episode is an absolute tribute to the people, both famous and familiar, and all the other amazing human beings that I have the privilege to work with. All of these people have shaped my perspective, especially on resilience, on purpose, and the strength of the human spirit. But I want to start out with some more famous historic figures, kind of like the foundation. One of them will be definitely Viktor Frankl. His stories touched unknown millions of people. Viktor Frankl survived the unimaginable, the Holocaust. And he somehow emerged not just alive, but with an important message that guides us today and helped shape the foundation for everything I believe. His big lesson was that when we can no longer change our circumstance, we are challenged to change ourselves. Like the quote is specifically, when we are no longer able to change a situation, we are challenged to change ourselves. He also said everything can be taken away from a person, but one thing, the last of the human freedoms, to choose one's attitude in any given circumstance. And when I first read this was the genesis of reframing for me. This is when I learned that my mood doesn't have to be attached. Like my thought process, my mood, my joy does not have to be attached to the circumstances I am in at the moment. that all these things are a choice. But they're only a choice when you realize they're a choice. Because up to the point that I realized we had a choice about these things, literally my life would sway in the wind of all the things that weren't going right. Every wind would take me and I go down that path and I spiral. And honestly, I still do. I'm not perfect. But that's okay. Because of all this I've done in the past, maybe I sway a little bit, but I found my footing again. And over the years, I find my footing faster and faster and faster. What used to take me out for a month now takes me out for minutes. He showed that even in suffering, meaning can exist. And in some way, suffering ceases to be suffering at the moment you find meaning. He also said the meaning of life is to give life meaning. If you've heard any of my other episodes, you're going to understand that I 100% believe that all life is on purpose. And any amazing human being you've met in this life, if you had the fortune to get to know them deeply, you would see under that beauty, there was some really tough things, right? The most amazing people you know are riddled with scars that you will never see. The kindest, most empathetic, compassionate human beings have been through things that would break another human being. And rather than break, they chose to add meaning. And I believe the meaning they've added is they know what it feels like to hurt at the deepest level. And I do too. And they don't want to ever see another human being go through it alone. And that's me. Because they can relate, because they can empathize. And so many of these people choose very compassionate work that helps people. And that's my purpose in life, purpose to help. Not in spite of what happened, but because of what happened. Viktor Frankl's words remind me that we can't always control life, but we can choose our perspective, and that's reframing. That's at the heart of the inner advocate. The voice that refuses to surrender meaning, even in pain. Another one of the greatest foundations. So when I was going to school, I went back to school. My life had crashed. I hit the lowest part of my life. And from the ashes arose the life I have now, which is amazing. And honestly, I'm okay if I crash and burn again because I know I'll rise stronger. But when I went back to school, we had this little storage room, and we set that up as my study room. And I would study 4.5 hours a night after school and 19 hours on the weekend. Even though I'm dyslexic and I had a lot of trouble in school, I hit the honor roll every level when I went back to school. And at the end, I got an award for excellence and being really great with human beings. But in order to inspire myself, I put one picture, and it was a cartoon picture of Albert Einstein. Albert Einstein truly inspires me. He was a man who blended intellect, science, and wonder, spirituality too. Einstein wasn't just a scientist, he was a philosopher of life. He saw beauty and curiosity in imagination and simplicity. He said, life is like riding a bicycle. To keep your balance, you must keep moving. Oh my God. Like, if you're having a tough time right now, if you don't have the energy, if you're unmotivated, and if you're waiting for motivation to get you moving, it doesn't work that way. Get moving just a little, and then motivation will come. He also said, imagination is more important than knowledge. He said, strive not to be a success, but rather to be of value. Yeah. In the background, I'd like this work I'm doing right now, this podcast, I'd love to have it be successful. But my definition of successful isn't about money or fame or anything. It's just about increasing reach, reaching more and more people, finding the people that need my message, being of value on this planet. There was a time when I literally believe I was just displacing a certain amount of air, and then one day I would die and I would no longer displace that air, and that would have been it. Like my dash. Have you ever heard of your dash? My dash was born in this year. There's a dash, and then you died in this year. And my dash didn't mean anything. Now, the only thing I want in this life is for my dash to mean something. And the meaning I want it to have is that I brought comfort to other human beings. I was here to help. And the final thing I love, or not the final thing, but one of the other things he said, and this is why I'm so inspired by this human being. Only a life lived for others is a life worthwhile. Have you ever heard, this is crazy. They say 90% of the time that you're feeling bad or not inspired or not happy, you're focusing on yourself. And on the other hand, 90% of the time you're feeling really great, happy, and inspired. If you really checked in, you'd be thinking about other people. Einstein believed wisdom was found not in knowing, but in asking questions, in staying open, humble, and curious. If you've listened to a lot of the stuff I say, one of my favorite things is, I wonder if Einstein thought about this ever. He literally, because he asked such great questions. And I heard this, that the quality of your life is directly related to the quality of the questions you ask yourself every day. If you want a better life, ask yourself better questions. And when I heard that, I took it on very literally, and I wrote down 20 questions. If you want to improve your life, if you're feeling humdrum, not inspired, not fully alive, take this on. Write down 10 or 20 questions, write them down on a piece of paper, keep it beside your bed. And the moment you wake up in the morning, you read 20 questions out loud, inspiring questions like, how can I be a better person today? Who can I help today? How can I make a difference in the world today? Fill yourself up with positive questions before your mind has to fill it up with negative, how am I going to make it through the day? I'm so tired. And how am I ever going to retire and all that? Fill yourself up with a positive. Some of the other things that Einstein said was, anyone who has never made a mistake has never tried anything new. Oh God, I want to fill the rest of my life with mistakes. I want to fill the rest of my life with failures. Because the two things I know for sure is, one, if I'm making mistakes, I'm trying something new, something hard, something that I'm just not in control of. And if I'm failing, at my goals, I know I have goals that are bigger than me. I'd rather spend a life of crashing and burning, reaching for the stars, than sitting on the couch watching TV. One of the other things he said that this has always inspired me. We cannot solve our problems with the same thinking we used to create them. Think about it. How can we solve the problems we're stuck in if we're thinking the same way? This is, once again, this is reframing. This is the core of what I wanted, like my message, the message I'm trying to develop. Like, if you wonder why I'm recording things over and over like this, it's because I'm trying to get to the core of my message. So I'm just speaking about everything I can. And like, yeah, I just want to make a difference in the world. That's all. Honestly, like why Einstein really inspired me, because he was so connected to science, but then he became connected to spirit, to spirituality. He was so logical, and he found his way to love. He understood that imagination was the seed of all transformation. And he reminds us that our best ideas, our breakthroughs, often come when we stop trying to be perfect, and simply stay curious. The important thing is not to stop questioning. Curiosity has its own reason for existing. Then there's somebody who redefined courage for me. Helen Keller. Helen Keller lost her sight and hearing at just 19 months. And yet she became a world-renowned author, activist, and speaker. She once said, life is either a daring adventure or nothing at all. Think about that. Doesn't mean you have to have incredible adventure every day. It just means you have to open your heart to adventure. Open your heart to you're more than you think. That line's, it stayed with me. And in my toughest times, it did bother me a bit because I wasn't doing anything. But when I emerged and I realized that either I go for this life or there is no life. We're either growing or dying. And this is why on a Sunday afternoon, after working 6 days straight, 12 hours a day, I'm here in my clinic recording this. Because I'm on an adventure and I don't know where it's going. But I'm willing to create goals that are so big that failing might happen. But I'm going to be alive through it. That line stayed with me, not just because it's poetic, because it is, but because it's defiant. Because it stands in the face of life and saying, life is an adventure or nothing. Helen Keller believed, and imagine this, imagine. Like, you have no sight or hearing. And she believed that a safe life is not a full life. Like, we have all our faculties, and she's the one that's encouraging us to go for it in life. She challenged us to embrace the unknown, to grow through discomfort, and to risk. Her story reminds me that fear and fulfillment often lived side by side. Side by side. And that every time we step beyond comfort, we reclaim a little more of who we truly are. Security is mostly a superstition. Life is either a daring adventure or nothing. And then there was somebody I heard of later in life, Dr. Dyer. They call him the father of motivation. Literally, his teachings transformed how I see life, especially the power of perception. I actually I went to a conference where he was speaking. His presence was amazing. He said some interesting things that really touched me, like, when you judge another, you don't define them. You define yourself. So think about that. If somebody's judging you, they're not defining who you are. They're defining themselves as someone who needs to judge you, because what they say is not the truth. He said, change the way you look at things, and the things you look at will change. Perspective is so important. And I love this. You cannot be lonely if you like the person you're alone with. And this was one of the greatest things I ever learned, because there was a time when I really didn't like myself. Like, no, honestly, I really didn't like me. I thought I was awkward. I thought I didn't fit in. I thought I was a waste of time. I was smart. Like, I had nothing redeemable. I had so much imperfection. And literally, it wasn't till I realized it's my imperfections that make me the perfect me that my life changed. Dr. Dyer believed that peace, purpose, and happiness come from within. Yeah. If you're looking outside for your happiness and joy, you're going to be disappointed. If you look inside, you're going to have a happy life. We are responsible for how we interpret the world. See, there's no inherent meaning in anything until we place meaning on it. So we choose to make the meaning. I know I saw a reel a while back, and the guy was talking, always assume positive intent. Who knows what somebody's intent is? But if you always think they're out to get you, or they're disrespecting you, or anything like that, how does that help you? But if you could create a positive intent around what's going on, then you will feel happier. And the whole purpose of life is to be happy, I believe. He said, be miserable or motivate yourself. Whatever has to be done, it's always your choice. And that's a hard one to hear, isn't it? Literally, when I first heard that, that's hard. It's because now I'm going to judge myself because now I'm screwing up everything. But the truth is, we have the choice. And yeah, we have an internal critic who's protecting us by keeping us small. And yeah, it takes some time and some work to get to this place, but you can, over time, you can change it. He said, you cannot always control what's going on the outside, but you can always control what's going on in the inside. Now, you can't control the inner critic for the most part. For the most part, the inner critic is automatic, right? But you can control whether or not you choose to grab a hold of that and believe it or trust it or repeat it to yourself. Or you can choose to create your own inner advocate who goes, that's not true. This is true. It's your choice. That's what the inner advocate's about. And he said, doing what you love is the cornerstone to having abundance in your life. Boy, do I get that one. One of the other things he said that I really love, he said, living a life on purpose. And this when I heard that, I said, I'm going to work the rest of my life to live a life on purpose. And what's really interesting about living a life on purpose, it's like you're living intentionally on the purpose of your life. Because I believe we have a purpose. I've found mine. That's what this is. That's what I'm doing right now. That's why I'm working on speaking, why I'm working on my message, trying my hardest to get this out, to have an impact. And I hope something I say has an impact on you. His message always returns to one truth. And this is, you are the creator of your inner world. Change your lens and life itself changes. Change the way you look at things. The things you look at will change. And he would say this, begin to see yourself as a soul with a body rather than a body with a soul. So these were the foundational, some of the foundational people who inspire me. But since I've entered this work, I got to say I have so much more inspiration for some of the human beings I've had the privilege to work with. I'm literally constantly inspired by the athletes of all levels I work with. Like real human beings facing real pain, and yet they show up again. One of the marathon runners I worked with, after 2 years of heartbreaks, of injury, of just mishaps that just didn't work out, and literally out of their control, they were building for the next race, and it happened to be marathon championships, and it was a qualification race for the Olympics, and their dream's Olympics. And it must have been about 10 weeks out or so, they wanted to quit. And I was like, just one day at a time, just make it through one day. Don't worry about the quality, just keep on going. So they got to the race, and the race didn't take them seriously. They weren't invited to the presser, but actually that was a good thing for them. They got up the morning. The last thing they said to their coach just before the race started is, my legs feel heavy. And then they went out without expectation. I was at that race supporting this athlete, and I remember we're running around, the coach and I running around, and we're listening to the broadcast, and it's interesting because the camera, they have a camera on the national women, and this runner's not at 5K, not with the other runners, and the 5K the splits hadn't come up yet, so we didn't know where they were, and so when the 10K split started coming up, they saw that this runner was well ahead of what they thought was the lead pack. It was actually the chase pack. So they sent the bike up there. This athlete, even though they had like 2 years of just things not going right, they had the day of their life up to that point, because they will have another day. I truly believe it. No matter what goes on, this person will always rise to the top. They won the race, the national race, 7-minute PB, Olympic standard, auto qualify for the Olympics. Think about it. Like, would you hold on for 2 years and keep on pushing? Could you do that? I don't know if I could. I have another runner, just an amazing person. She doesn't probably understand who she is at that level. I remember coming into this season, she had a breakthrough. She was running with these really fast people, and it was like no problem. She actually told me that her mantra was yes. She said, I can run with these girls. And I'm like, yeah, of course you can. I could have told you that. There are university championships. She came in first place overall. It's a huge deal, right? National championship. Went and qualified for her first world team, cross country worlds. And then after that, a year and a half of injuries. God, this human being inspires me, because like, I would have fallen apart at the first one, but they built their way back up and then went through it again. My heart broke for this human being. And they built their way back up and they got injured again. Went through 3 injuries. You know, they say success is going from failure to failure, or setback to setback, without losing enthusiasm. And I think what they should have said in there is like, yeah, in the middle of it, you lose some enthusiasm and you break down and you cry and you're frustrated, and yet you get back up and do it again and again and again. Anyway, I predict this runner will be on the line at the Olympics. And you can quote me on that. There's a cyclist I worked with. And this human being's just amazing, right? I mean, literally, I feel like they got into competitive cycling a little bit late, but they shot to the top. This human being is absolutely inspiring. And at one race in Europe, they were coming into a hairpin corner, and I guess it started raining, and they knew at the last moment that if they didn't do something, we're going to crash for sure. So they got on the brakes, and unfortunately, one thing led to another, and they slid across the road straight into metal barricades, shattered their jaw, fractured ribs, punctured lung. 2 or 3 weeks in intensive care. And they came back and they said something amazing that Like I said, I don't know I could do this. And they said, listen, I don't want this situation to determine whether or not I continue racing. They were like, I want to get healthy. I want to get back on my bike and I want to race again and make a decision from a powerful place. And here I'm thinking of all the things that are in my way in life and have been in my way in life. Nothing like that. They inspired me to take on things bigger, to go for it. And then there's the sprinter I work with, and they just having a devastating issue that nobody could figure out. And yet this human being, through her tears and frustration and fear, kept on trying and trying and trying. See, there's no quit in some people. She's one. She inspires me to know that no matter what I'm going through in this life, just don't quit. Keep on going. These are the people who remind me what resilience looks like in motion, in reality, in real life, in real people. They teach that setbacks are not stop signs. They are invitations to discover who you really are. It's not the load that breaks you. No. It's the way you carry it. When I watch these people, I don't just see athletes. I see example of human potential, of faith, and of choice. And I see how we as human beings can be unstoppable. I modeled my life after all these people and more. The famous historic features are people and all these athletes I work with. The stories from Viktor Frankl's meaning in suffering, Einstein's curiosity, to Helen Keller's courage, to Dr. Wayne Dyer's wisdom and compassion and reframing, and to the everyday heroes I see in my clinic. You all remind me of what's possible for me. You're the inspiration that has me go on with what I'm doing right now, right here in the clinic speaking. On the tough days when my inner critic whispers you can't or you're not good enough, I think of them. Honestly, I do. And I ask myself, if they could rise, why not me? Remember, how you treat people, how people treat you, that's their karma. How you react is yours. Dr. Wayne Dyer. The state of your mind or your life is nothing more than a reflection of the state of your mind. Each of us carries the same potential, the ability to choose our attitude and move forward to make meaning out of difficulty. So this week, take a moment to think of people who inspire you. Think about why they inspire you. Because the people who light our path forward often remind us of the light that's already within us. Go for it now. The future's not promised to anyone. Remember to keep building your inner advocate, choosing courage, choosing meaning, and choosing to be inspired.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Your Inner Advocate, a podcast by Kimen Petersen, formerly Conversations with Kimen. If you found value in today's episode, please follow, like, and share the podcast with someone who you think may benefit from it. You can listen on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Podbean, and connect on Instagram at your_inner_advocate. Until next time, keep listening to and developing your inner advocate.